I didn't know she did this, bro.
Yeah, because you don't know what the fuck it is you dog.
Welcome.
Welcome back again.
We gonna get this shit right.
I promise.
I swear to you. You know why? Because we ain't giving up.
Nope.
And
Nope.
for those of you who won't know, we just spoke solid for 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Realizing that the record button wasn't hit.
Hey man, but we back. We
Hey,
here.
man, thank God we caught it in 2 minutes and not 20.
We've done that too, so it's all good.
We done that too, man.
It's a process, bro.
Yeah. So we did a clubhouse last night, just kind of preparing for the conversation today, just around this whole concept of value and knowing your worth and what kind of things impact that. If it's a concept or something that you're creating for yourself or that you're using the outside world to kind of measure against. So I thought we did a good job. You know, we spent about an hour on there.
Yeah, but first, I'm Life.
Yeah, we did do that in that 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm James.
TuneTheFork podcast, man. We back again.
Yes.
But yeah, so you said we spent about a good solid hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good conversation too. Clubhouse is interesting, man, because it's a way to really connect to people in a very inclusive way, right? It's an interesting thing, man. It's relatively new, but it's interesting. So back to what you're saying about the value. Let's go ahead. I just want to make sure we define terms so we know what we talk about when we speak of value and in the creative arena, what all that means and how all that works.
So we're creative people.
Yep.
And we interact with a lot of creatives. Some, you know, and so
I think creative meaning DJs, visual artists, producers,
photographers, writers,
artists, singers, everything creative that it is, we interact with. Yep.
And a lot of us are moving through that space and creating with trying to balance between the idea of this thing that we have inside of us that we want to share with the world, and then how do we monetize it and kind of like make a living off of it.
Yep.
And so when we're talking about, from my perspective, what is your worth? And it's hard for me to tell somebody else what the definition of it is. But right. I think for me, understanding my worth and my value as it relates to the products that I create and what I bring forth into the world. I think it's more about determining what my objective is first.
Yeah.
And making sure that I'm aligning with people and with things and energies that kind of allow me to bring that forward.
We'll talk about that a little bit when you say your objective, because I want to make this, again, we you know, a lot of who our tribe is a lot of creatives, and I want to make sure that we're clear in the terms that we're using, so that if they want to apply these sorts of conversations in their own existences, then they're clear. So when you say your objective, when you say it depends on you what your objective is, give me an example of that.
So why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I doing it to make money? Am I doing it because there's something inside of me that I need to get out? And am I doing it because I was told to do it? Like, what's driving me to do this thing?
Now, does that include you're doing it because you're trying to build a bigger thing. Like you do this thing to sort of open up the door to a bigger thing, or does that matter?
That could be a part of the vision,
right?
Because I think we're gonna tiptoe around a lot of parts of it, because I think back a lot about DJing.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what we're closest to.
Yeah,
so.
and when you give somebody your rate, how do you determine that rate?
Yep.
And what are you basing that rate on?
Yep.
Are you saying it's going to be $150 an hour because somebody else is doing it for $100 an hour?
Right.
Is this what the market is bearing?
Right.
Am I doing it for $100 an hour because I know somebody else out there would do it for $125 an hour?
Right.
Or will I do it for free just to get in the door?
Yeah.
Like, there's a certain perception of value that we have on ourselves that I think is reflected in the decisions that we make to take these jobs on.
Yep.
And we know enough people, bro, and we talk a lot about it. Like, how'd you come up with that number?
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody's charging $500 an hour, and we'll sit back and look at them and we'll say, oh, they ain't worth $500 an hour. I'm like, what the fuck? If they said they worth $500 an hour, and they got $500 an hour, or they got $4,000 for 2 hours to show up for 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, but dog, this is a complex, complicated, and I'm pretty sure it crosses all creative lines because you could have a market, right, that bears, like a corporate market, bears a lot more money than a sort of a nightclub market for a lot of different reasons. But the skill set or the deliverable is the same. Like if I do a corporate party, right, I'm gonna play pretty much the same types of music, you know what I'm saying, that I would in a particular club setting.
So how do you set your price for that?
So that's what I'm saying. So the corporate, of course, is going to be more, right? You're going to charge, you're going to get more. The expectation is different. Is that truer to the price that we should be charging, right? And the nightclub, of course, is cheaper. They're going to pay cheaper because, I don't know, is it the market? It's not the market because they make tons of dough. But it's the market in terms of there are DJs who do it for so cheap, it drives the prices down, right? So do we accept that and say, fuck that, my price is my price?
So we know that we accept it as DJs.
Right.
In the culture, we know we do.
But it's a lot of reasons. So you accept it sometimes because it's weekly, right? You're a resident. So that will sort of make, in your mind, it makes up for it over time. Or you accept it because now you feel like you're getting in the door of this thing that you could turn into something bigger.
So that goes back to what I was saying before about depending on what your objective is.
Right.
Because
but should that matter though? That's my question. That's always been my question.
What your objective?
Yeah.
I don't, and because it's an individual thing, I think that's why I wanted to have the conversation, because there are people who look at their value in from an hourly perspective.
Right.
So they might say, I make $50 an hour at my regular job.
Right.
And so they see their value from an hourly perspective. So when they go out and DJ, they're saying, well, shit, I'm making $50 an hour at my regular job. If somebody will pay me $50 an hour to DJ, I'll do that.
But
and the next thing you know, they're doing a 4-hour gig for $200. Because that's the logic that they use for their value.
Right. Yes, that's clean. But I think that as creatives, what we do is an art. Just like if you were a singer or a painter or whatever you are, dog, whatever you are as a creative, that seemingly bears a different number than if you just fucking work at the post office, you know what I'm saying, sorting mail.
So
that seems to bear a different.
You would think, but
Right.
that's still not the logic that people use.
Right.
And which gets us back to how do you determine
Exactly.
the value of that?
Yep.
So
Yep.
because some people just want access. And they'll say, I'll do this for whatever reason. They'll make a concession. But I don't think that there's an internal conversation that people are having beforehand
Yes.
that says, this is me, this is who I am,
Yes.
and this, because your value really isn't based on what someone pays you, I don't think. It can be a reflection of it, but it's not the defining characteristic. There are a bunch of sloppy motherfuckers getting trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating, obviously, but
Right.
but that might not be a reflection of the effort that they put into their work.
Yeah.
Or a lot of things. And so
the talent. Let's just keep it real.
or even the talent.
So you're saying, and which is absolutely true, that you could be, and again, I'm bringing it back to DJing because that's what I know. You could be a super talented. You can check all the boxes. You can read the crowd. Your parties are jumping. You bring people to the party. All the things you check, and go into a space and get the same number as a motherfucker who, A, just starting out, B, has they can put records together, but they have no real concept of building a night.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of what you play in and how the flow of your night. But they get the same number because that's what the market. So, and again, in DC, I don't know, where people are. In DC, you got these chunks or chunks of markets in different spots throughout the area because DC and DMV includes Maryland, Virginia. So you got these clumps, right? And each of those clumps has, maybe 5 or 6 different places that have DJs. That all sort of carry the same number, right?
Yep.
Sometimes there are placement agencies involved. Sometimes there's all kinds of other things that drive that market. But you're saying that no matter what, your price, what is your price? What are you willing to take? Are you willing to take that? Or are you like, fuck that, that's not in my price range. I'm not gonna be a part of that.
And I think that sometimes knowing your price ahead of time.
Right.
And I was talking to my godson about this.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about getting into this music stuff. And I told him, know your price before you make $1.
Yeah.
That way, because things can go in so many different directions.
So quickly.
And you will be willing to make so many concessions as you go through the process that you might actually lose sight and look back and be like, damn, I've been getting taken advantage of this whole time. And really, because you didn't understand what your price was, and price is a subjective thing. Price could be relating to time. It could be related to energy. It could be related to what you're willing to compromise from a moral perspective. Because that's a piece of it too in this DJing and in this art stuff. Like, we got to deal with some racial shit in a lot of cases.
A lot of cases.
And sometimes we'll put up with shit. Some rape, and so what is the cost? What is the cost for that?
Right.
And just to be in these spaces. And so the concept for me of knowing your worth and defining what it is for yourself.
Right.
Because if we're in the DC area, as an example, well, not an example, shit, we are. We're in the DC area. If we know that spot A is paying $300 for a Friday night, and you don't feel in your heart that you feel like you deserve more than $300, do you take the $300? Or do you say, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and be clean and do my thing over on this side and wait until I can build up to get $300, to get $500 or whatever it is that I feel that I deserve? Do you start moving in other ways so that you can justify what you feel, or so that you can justify getting what it is that you actually want.
Yeah, and do you the key to that is, do you say I'm not doing that and sacrifice the night, and just to say my line is here, I'm not doing it, I'd rather not do nothing and build towards something else? Or do you say, hey, I'm gonna take this while I build towards something else? Because the slippery slope is, once you take it, dog, that's it. That's where you are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Once you, and that goes to what you were talking about when you set your price. Once you lower that price, that's what a motherfucker feel like he can pay you.
And you teaching people how to treat you.
That's right.
You teaching them how to engage you.
Yep.
and how to determine your value.
Yep.
Because everything ain't got to be a goddamn deal.
Yep.
Everything ain't got to be a discount.
Yeah.
But for some, and I think this is where creatives get taken advantage of the most. Because a lot of this shit we would do for free. Yeah. I would DJ for free because I love to do it. Yeah. And so how do you put a value on something that you would do for free? Right. To a point to where it reflects who you are, your worth, your commitment, your investment into that. Because I think a part of it too for me is, I know my worth based on how much I have personally invested into that thing. Right.
Time,
which helps.
And otherwise.
Time, money, practicing, whatever the shit is. Or just even what you get to determine what that is. Yep. But the people who I feel like, I'll stop there.
Yeah. But see, it's layered, because you have, and I'm pretty sure this is with creative across the board a lot of the times. You have, sometimes you're dealing directly with the club, sometimes you're dealing with a promoter, sometimes you're dealing with another DJ that's dealing with a promoter that's dealing with the club. So there's a lot of pieces that are wrapped around what price you set. So, and then you still in with long-term relationships where motherfuckers is like, hey man, do this for, you know what I'm saying? And then you determine based on, it's a lot of factors. But as a general rule, and like you said, we both have done, like, if someone we like or know is having a party and they want the crew to come and we just do our thing, I don't really expect you know what I'm saying? Unless it's otherwise worked out beforehand. Because I'm just if I'm not working, then I'm just gonna enjoy myself. That's part of me enjoying myself. Yeah. So, as a general practice, it's hard to set a hard and fast number to because you could believe that your value is X dollars, right? But the market at the time might not be willing to give you X dollars. Do you say, I'm holding out until I can get my number? Or do you say, okay, I need to do this to work towards my own number?
Bro, I think I just fucking figured it out.
Let me hear it.
Let that fire, whatever, go by silent. Yeah. Here's the thing. Yeah. The outside should have zero fucking input into what your value is. Zero. Mm-hmm. You determine your value. If you getting $1 million for a 3-hour gig, or if you getting 30, you could still know what you're worth. And I think the exercise of trying to put the value, to make the value based on a number is probably the wrong move. Because the coldest motherfucking DJs I know ain't getting what they should be getting.
Absolutely not.
But that don't mean that they don't know their value.
And that don't mean that they're not worth whatever that number is.
Because and so the concept of knowing your worth could be related to what your relationship is to your craft. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
And so I know my worth in this arena because I know how much I practice.
Yeah.
I know how much I dig. I know how much I try to be creative in all of these ways that a single motherfucker might have zero idea about. I know when I start, why I start this song at this song. I know the flow. I know the vibe. Like,
but that's clean. That as a value to you might, and a lot of times, not even might, a lot of times, is not the value of whatever venue you're working on.
And that's why when you know your worth, you can, it don't matter. Fuck the venue probably more than likely don't. The venue probably don't know the difference between you, a third grader with a USB powered controller and some algorithm where you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The venue probably has no idea.
Absolutely.
But the fact that you got $30,000 in goddamn vinyl, you've been spinning for 25 years, you know the ins and outs, and you are extremely intimate with your music, with your crates, and you know what's what.
Yeah.
The venue don't get to determine that. And I think that's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And all of that boils down to, dog, if you set your value and you're going to places that don't meet you at your value, then you're in the wrong places.
And most of us are.
And I take that, I would say, let's take it out of creative spaces. Let's take it into other technology like coding. Like if you have a certain skill set in coding in a certain language or creating these applications in a certain language, your number, it varies, but not much. Like if you, in US of A, if you doing work in San Francisco, if you're doing work in Chicago, if you're doing work in wherever, DC, that number for that thing, that knowledge does not vary too much. The living expenses may vary, you know what I'm saying, and all kinds of other stuff, but that number for what that is doesn't vary. But once you get into the international markets, that number varies a lot. Like you can get, a motherfucker could be charging $100 an hour. You can go somewhere else on this planet and get the same work for $30 an hour. The value of what they do isn't changing, right? It's the space, the market space. So you have to say, okay, well, if this market, if these clubs or this promoter or this placement agency does not meet my number, then I need to go somewhere else. And what are you willing to sacrifice? That's another part of it. What are you willing to sacrifice for that number?
And I think that's where the fine line is. Because when I'm talking about, and I'm glad we had the conversation, man, because I was struggling in the beginning. And I think that as we're talking about it and blowing out some of these ideas, that it's helping me understand that it's really about what my relationship is to myself and the work that I am putting into that thing.
Right.
Because the value is subjective in the same way that anything else is.
Yep.
And so if your value can't be as it relates to you, it has to be a very specific thing. So if you are the kind of motherfucker that is cool with being called nigga just so you could get a gig, or being treated a very, very, very specific way, you see what I'm saying? Like, maybe even if you're getting paid $50 million, you might not know your value.
Yeah.
You might not know your true worth.
Yeah.
Because when we're putting numbers to some of it, I think we're really reducing, we're playing the game.
Yeah.
We've signed up to play the game of labeling, putting price tags on shit like it's a commodity. And this is why I think you can have one artist charge $10,000 for a painting or $1,000 for a painting.
Right.
Or $25,000 for a painting or
Right.
$250.
Right.
Because the materials are the same.
Yep.
It's the work in and of itself is subjective. But how do you go to that artist and you look at him and I made this thing right here and I was like, hey, yo, James, how much you want to pay for this? Now, I can look at this, bro, and I could say, give me 20,000.
Yeah.
And you would look at me and you'd be like, you would look at me and be like, he don't even feel like that's worth 20,000. He just said that. Or I could be like, this is 20,000.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, damn, he really thinks that that's 20?
Yeah.
Why does he think? And then the next thing you know, you start, but because there's something inside of me that made this, that gave this value.
Right. Yeah.
And I got to make it whatever I wanted to make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't take it, you don't take it.
Right.
But I know what it's worth because I said that it's worth that.
Right. But so the other part of this conversation, and dog, that's clean. Another part of this conversation is why do we not feel like whatever that value is what that value is? Why? What's inside of us to say that always wants to rationalize and make excuses for taking less than we know we're worth, or looking to, okay, I'm gonna do this to get to the next thing. Okay, I'm gonna accept this motherfucker screwing, I'm gonna accept it because I'm looking to a bigger picture. What makes us fear? Fear of what?
Fear. I don't know. I think the fear could vary. But I think a lot of it has to do with fear of not knowing, the fear that is created from the uncertainty of, because there's a space that exists between where you are and where you want to be. Now, that shit could be filled with struggle. It could be filled with pain.
Right.
It could be filled with joy. It could be filled with contentment.
Right.
Whatever it is, and we have more examples of our lives of living a life in contentment than we do one of mystery and of unknown.
Right.
Because unknown is scary. And so when you've got that space now, when you're at that present moment and somebody says, how much do you want for that thing?
Right.
All you're trying to do is make that space as certain as you possibly can.
Right.
And the way that you do that is reduce the barriers. And sometimes price can be a barrier.
Yeah.
But when really it's just your perception of it. And so it's easier for us to just say, hey man, just give me $500 for that.
Yeah.
When you really want to charge $5,000.
Right.
Because if you stick to $5,000, that space might be a little bit more wider because you gotta wait to find somebody who's gonna pay you $5,000.
Right.
And you're not comfortable doing that because you don't believe that you're worth it.
So,
and if you say you do, but you never put yourself in a position to prove or to validate that, then you don't really feel it.
yeah, dog, and I think that we do that in a lot of different aspects of our lives, dog. Even when we're working, you're 9 to 5. Even as professionals, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote. We go into these spaces, not really negotiating what we feel like we're worth in the beginning to get the job, right? We always feel like that we are lucky to be in these spaces. You know what I'm saying? So we move not in a confident way around whatever. So we don't go in there and be like, I want X or I want, you know what I'm saying? We go into really accepting whatever they give us. And that goes into, so as creatives, we think the same way. We undervalue because we want that immediate gig. Like we want, like if somebody is like, we like, all right, $1,000. And they're like, man, I give you 300. And because we want that gig, we'll be like, all right. You know what I'm saying? We accept it instead of saying, nah, man, my number is my number.
And when you do that, I know one dude told me, I remember a guy, and I don't want to say his name. He asked me what I wanted for a Friday night, and I told him. And he was like, ain't nobody getting that. And I was like, well, I am here. I'm going to get it,
right,
or I ain't going to get it. But
right.
So he was like, nobody's getting that.
Right.
XYZ person don't even get that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if that's what they're accepting,
yeah,
then that's what they're accepting.
Yeah.
This is what I need.
Yeah.
And people move and accommodate in some ways once they understand what your value, when they know that you know your worth,
right,
they engage with you differently.
Right.
They might not like it because ultimately they're telling themselves that they can't afford you. But you got to be willing, and a part of knowing your worth is being able to walk away.
That's clean.
You got to be able to walk away, and you got to have enough confidence in yourself that you'll be okay.
Yep.
And that if you stick to it, and rather than spend your time lowering your value in a space that doesn't serve you, you could be spending that time perfecting your craft and putting yourself in a position to actually get what you want. Because other than that, bro, you just whoring yourself out.
Yeah, and dog, we are.
And that's clean too, by the way. And I don't want to, because
Horse gotta eat too, dog. But I get the idea that I am building something, so I'm going to take these small chunks until I can build. Maybe I can build an audience to have my own parties. You know what I'm saying, and get whatever it is, and that lets me be the master of however it works, whether it's good or bad. Whatever money I get, it's on me how I hustle to get it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm building to that. Maybe, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, but we, as a person who sets their own value, we cannot accept, or we shouldn't accept, what a market forces on us just because it forces it. Because I guarantee you, dog, and this is the other part of that. In this nightlife space, these places are making a lot of money off you. Like they are making tens of thousands of dollars off you every time you play, if you're decent. Not if you're exceptional, not if you're, you know what I'm saying, good as shit. If you're just serviceable, decent, they're making a lot of money. And for whoever involved to pay you $200, they are screwing you because that's what they can do.
That's what they can do.
Because they can. Because they're making money. They're making tons of money in these spaces. And we ain't talking about places that you pay to get in. I'm talking about the average club, bar, whatever it is, making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 every night, dog. I mean, every weekend, Friday and Saturday night. And they are giving you $200 because they can, right? And that is, dog, and that fucks up the market, because now the people who feel like they deserve more can't get it because you always got somebody in the shadows like I'll do it for 200.
But we have people, and so some people want to go out just so that they can get the exposure.
Yes.
Right.
And some people just do it as a side hustle that they just like to do it. They got a 9-to-5 job and they just do it just, all right, cool.
And this goes back to I make $50 an hour in my job.
Exactly.
So I'll go DJ for $200 for $50 an hour from 10 to 2 at a spot, and they'll make $10,000-$15,000.
Yep.
And so if you come along and say, man, I need $1,000 for that.
Yeah.
I need $1,000 to do 4 hours. They're like, $1,000? I could pay old boy $200. And like you said, decent.
Yeah.
And he's happy as a pig and shit because he's getting his $50 an hour, which is what he gets at his regular job.
Yep. And he's spinning records.
And that's why I think it goes back to because I think a part of it too, man, goes back to the people I know what is your relationship to your craft, to what it is to who you are.
Yep.
And that will determine what your worth is. Yes. And there's always going to be a reason to do it for less. But you'll know what that is.
But do you think that a lot of times, especially with a lot of these artists, they don't understand their value or their relationship? They know what they do, because a lot of times, man, artists, just like creatives, they look at their creations and they can always pick holes in it. They don't think it is good enough. They always feel like, so maybe they don't really understand. A lot of times we don't see what we've done as that shit right there was amazing.
And we compare it to what other people, our peers and our colleagues are doing.
Yes.
So if I'm DJing and I'm trying to get $500 and I'm sitting back and looking at somebody who's been DJing for 20 years and they only getting $400. And I'm like, well, damn, I need to ask for $3.
Yeah.
But this is why it goes back to your internal conversation.
Yeah.
Because it is art.
Yes.
And sometimes, bro, we will even sit back, and another piece on top of it, we'll judge people for getting what they asked for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we'll be like, oh, well, they can't do that, especially in the female DJ arena, right? And there's a lot of conversations about, how this DJ, uses these particular assets, might be like, tight clothes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like when you're selling a persona or a package and you know your worth, maybe your worth for you individually, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying, like, as the individual, I go to the gym. I didn't spend $15,000 on some titties and on some cosmetic stuff. That's an investment in what it is that I'm doing. So maybe my DJ skills might not be that good, or as good. They might be decent, but if I can go out and get gigs in that way because I'm marketing in that value, but we will compare ourselves to those people when there's no comparison really to any of it.
Right. So and that's a deeper question, man. That's deep. So when we get these gigs, we think, because we're on some levels purists, that we think it's about the skill set of spinning records, right? When that is a part of it, right? Maybe 20%, or maybe it's the last 20%. There are other things that make up why certain people get these gigs and other people don't.
And if you don't want to play that game,
that's the game.
Then that's not a metric that you use. Because you get to be whatever the fuck you want to be. If you want to be a purist, bro, if you are a vinyl only motherfucker, you look at people who walk in with computers like assholes, like cheaters. Let's say you do that. You get to do that. That's fine, but when you see me go out with my laptop and get $1,000 and you running around figuring out why you can't get 300 and 400, don't get mad at me. And we're not playing the same game.
And that's the thing, man. So you have as a purist, if you're walking around with crates, you can't expect to walk into the motherfucking latest bottle club, VIP, whatever the fuck it is, and think you're gonna walk in there and play MF Doom and Dilla records all night. That's not what that's set up for, and you shouldn't want. That's not your scene, right? So you can't be like, yeah, these motherfuckers don't wanna. Nah, that's not your scene. You need to find your scene, and if your scene don't exist, then you need to create your scene. You can't expect that to bend to what you want, because that ain't what that's not the scene.
And I think we do that a lot between each other.
Yes.
Because it's like, and I respect it all, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I didn't start on vinyl.
Yeah.
I didn't. I wish I had, now that I understood it a little bit more,
right.
I made some shortcuts.
Right.
And it wasn't until I actually started learning a lot more and realizing and going back, like, damn, like, there's this whole other world that exists that I wasn't really paying attention to.
Right.
But I've grown, I've developed, I have a love and appreciation, and I adore the brothers and the sisters who fuck with that and primarily prefer to. Yeah. Like, I feel like it's a lost art in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
But if that's the game that you're playing, like, you know your value in that space, and don't compare it to some ass and titties who are getting gigs because of XYZ. Because they're playing a totally separate game.
Yeah.
But everybody gets to play.
Yep. And that is, and there's, everybody gets to play, and there's room for everybody. If whatever it is, wherever you fit on the spectrum of DJing, there's room for you. There's a lane for you to be in. If you just want to do all that, there are parties that just do all that. You can have your own, and motherfuckers will come. Also, though, it's like any other art form. I mean, people enter it in different areas. I know kids who enter into fine arts using the stylus on that little pad thing, right? They don't know oils from any other canvases. They don't know that shit. But eventually, they will get to that, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell a motherfucker who ain't never had to. The reason why vinyl DJs use vinyl, because that's all there was, right? But there is a progression. There's a path that you can get to that. If you love it, right, and if you love the art form, eventually you're gonna make your way to that. And you can't fault anybody for wherever they fit in the path. You know what I'm saying? You should be encouraging them. If you love vinyl, if that's your thing, you should be, hey man, try. Here, man, here's a record. Try, listen to this joint. Listen how it sounds, how it feels, what happens. You know what I'm saying? And they'll eventually get there. They'll love it because it's part of what you do. If they love the craft.
And so a part of knowing your worth is knowing who you are.
Yeah, man, that's tough.
And knowing where you fit and how you fit and
that's
if
tough.
You fit.
That's tough, yep.
Because you might not fit, and not fitting is a beautiful motherfucking thing.
Yeah.
And it's harder to not fit.
Yeah.
But if you don't, I love you for it.
Yeah.
And I respect you for it.
Yep.
And I want to see you grow. And so that, because if you don't fit that, you might grow into something that other things start to fit in with you. Yeah, so I encourage that. But knowing your worth is understanding that. And most of the time, when you and everybody I know, from producers to singers to artists, when you ask them how much something is, there's a part of the conversation that equates to what somebody else is charging for their shit.
Right.
And a part of that is a part of the conversation.
Yeah, that's the market.
That's the market. That's the market.
Yeah.
And maybe because there's the value of it, and then there's also the emotional and moral cost of with it as well. And that's a piece that can't be missed.
Yep.
Because all of that shit maps in to what your worth is.
Right.
But you can either choose to assign a part of your value relative to what everybody else is doing,
Right.
or you could say that this is me and this is how I'm moving.
Right. Let me ask you this. So, like I said, man, last week I started rereading Miseducation of a Negro.
Mm-hmm.
And in a piece of it, it talks about how black people devalue themselves in comparison to white people. So and I see it in creative spaces, right? When you see a white fine artist and he's in a gallery and his shit is on the wall and you see that price tag on there, you don't want kind of buck at it. You expect, if you have any knowledge of the art space at all, it's something that whatever it is, you expect it. But when we see us, and I don't know whether it's because we know the person or we know of the person or we whatever, that we tend to, not we as in us, because we have a different understanding. But I mean, I think people tend to have a different sort of look at what the price is they want to hook up when it comes to black artists. And is that a piece, is that a familiarity piece, or is that a piece of, anything that white people do is seen at a higher value still to what black people do? And DJs, it doesn't matter. It goes across the board. They're seen as a different commodity than a black DJ.
And that's why knowing your worth has to be an internal thing.
And we need to, as creatives, totally, we need to get a different relationship with our worth than we currently have. Yeah. And that's part of knowing it. Collectively, we need to be encouraging to these dudes again, dog, this goes again, the creative in our lives, man, the creative people in our lives, we need to be encouraging them that your shit is amazing, dog. You should be on par with whoever is doing this the best. Yeah. You're right there with them. So your value is that. Whatever their value is, that's what your value is.
And I was watching the video you said the other day, or that we had the other day, and you were I posted a clip about it. And you're saying it's not necessarily all about buying anything or support them. A part of it is about buying.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And especially with us and this music shit.
Absolutely.
We got motherfuckers that want you to send them something or to do this or that and the third. When it's like, I can know you, I can love you, I can be your people.
Yeah.
Dude, I could get anything from Terrell.
Yeah.
I still buy his music.
Yeah.
I can get anything from Nate.
Yeah.
I still buy his music. I subscribe monthly to Rome, stylists and shit.
Yeah.
Not because I have to, but I value what these people are doing and I'm supporting. And I'm not putting my shit out there to say that, to try to, pat myself on the back or nothing, but, if we're around these people, the best thing that we can do for them is to support them by buying their shit and not always asking for a goddamn discount. Hey man, you might, if I bought this, can you send this one my way? Because most times, because what you find, bro, are the people who do that are the people who have a very challenging relationship with money. Sometimes because they're always coming from a position of scarcity. Like they're lacking something, so they're always looking for ways to get around shit. And so they're in a perpetual state of struggle.
But do you think that is, because I know people who do that who really, well, I think you hit it, you said have their relationship with money, not necessarily whether they have it or not, but their relationship to it. Because even if you have it, you're so scared of losing it that you hold on to it so tight. But here's the thing though, it's people who will spend $500-600 on tickets to see someone, right? But they won't come or support people who are right next to them. Like they won't spend $10 on this, or come to the club and just walk through, buy a drink, $5, buy a beer, say what's up to your man, and then you can just leave. They'll drive way out to wherever, spend $200-$300 per ticket to go see whoever, and then drive way back.
So I think it's a combination of both, because supporting could also be just logging into Twitch and seeing somebody's shit. Yeah. That doesn't cost you anything but some time, right? Yep. And for me, sometimes that's the piece that I think I struggle with the most at times, because, you know, especially with us trying to get this shit off the ground, like there's time constraints in a lot of ways. And so there is a commitment that you gotta have in those ways, because sometimes you can also default and be lazy with, well, let me just buy it. Like you can just buy your way, and sometimes that ain't what your people actually need. Right. Maybe they need you to just tap in on one of the Twitch videos and say, hey, look, I see you doing your thing, you're doing awesome. And then maybe that's their form of payment.
And that means a lot, man. When you see a motherfucker log in on Twitch and they just be like, what's up? They ain't gotta stay but 5 or 10 minutes. That means something, dog. Yeah. That moves,
And that's a part of the support. Absolutely. Yeah. And so when we're talking about the support, I mean, I think all of it matters. Yep. But even in the face of that, as the artist, knowing your words, because sometimes, man, the most eclectic, the most don't fit motherfuckers get scrutinized and observed from afar. Yeah. It's the easily digestible motherfuckers who get a lot of the accolades, who get a lot of the retweets and a lot of this and that and the third.
Because it fit in the box that people can consume.
But when you that motherfucker who's a little off center, eclectic, doing some wild shit, people will look at you. They'll tap in to see what you're doing and how you're doing it. Yeah. And they may not necessarily even big you up all of the time. Right. But they see you. They're observing you. And you just got to keep going.
So do you think that those, like, if you support, if people support people, the people in their lives who are creatives, do you think that would help them understand better their value? Yep. Do you think that would have them push their value up? Yep. And is the inverse true? So if they don't, then you're like, man, my shit trash. My homeboys don't even fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? Here, you want $100 for this beat? Here, man, take the motherfucker.
It's a conversation that we're all having, bro. It's that we get caught up in the numbers. Yeah. And sometimes I gotta look over at you, bro, and be like, man, listen. You gotta put a mix together, bro. Yeah. It's been a minute. Yeah. And you might be sitting over there thinking, ain't nobody gonna see this shit. And I'm like, bro, people need to feel that shit. People need to see. Let me rephrase that. Yeah. You need to feel yourself creating it.
That is right. That's clean.
You need to, need that. Yeah. And I know you enough to know that you need that. Yeah. For sure. And when you have the relationship, you appreciate and value my opinion. Yep. And the insight. Yep. And so you could actually use that as a battery. Yeah. To get some shit done.
Yeah, and you know it's right as soon as you hear it.
As soon as you hear it, bro.
You know it ain't no lies in
it. As dope as some of these people I call Buck all the time, man. And I know this motherfucker ain't watching our podcast. I call them motherfucker all the time and be like, dude, I just want to let you know you are a bad motherfucker. I ain't calling to jerk each other off for 5-10 minutes. I just wanted to call to say that. And he be like, I appreciate it, man. Cause I get moved at times by, I got his work in the crib, right? So sometimes I'll look at it or I'll see him post something or the same with, all of the people, man. Like, that shit matters.
Yeah, dog. And I need to get better at that, but you are motherfucking absolutely right. Absolutely right.
That shit goes a long way. Imagine how you feel. Yeah. If somebody sends you a text like, yo, man, that last podcast y'all did was dope, bro. Y'all really on to something nice. Yeah. How much does that make your day? Yep. That can make your whole goddamn day.
Yeah. And again, dog, this goes back to what we talked about. When you give something, that's what you receiving. In order to get something, you gotta get in those. I mean, you can make a motherfucker's day. You can make 5 motherfuckers a day. That's in less than 1 minute. You can make 5 motherfuckers days in a short amount of time. Just, you know what I'm saying? Just with doing that.
And bro, and that is knowing your worth. Because here's my worth. I know I'm a bad motherfucker, bro.
Right.
And you know how I know it?
Right.
It's because I go around and I tell other motherfuckers I know that they bad.
Yeah.
Because my opinion is so goddamn high in my mind that when I tell you you dope, goddamn it.
Right. You dope.
You dope.
Dope as shit.
And you gon' believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you know I dope I am.
That right. And that ain't to say it's gonna drown out all of the other voices you got in your head.
Right. Right.
But because I'm dope,
right,
and I come to you and be like, you dope, you be like, damn. I know my worth in that way.
And then a lot of times that shit just, like you said, it doesn't drown out those other voices, but it connects the dots.
Connects the dots.
You might be sitting feeling like you ain't gonna do shit today, but you hear that, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna motherfucking do something.
Yep.
Whatever the fuck it is. And that could be the thing that, you know, propels you. So yeah, man.
And
so all that's clean.
One of the things that I love, there are certain DJs that I love, bro. Bobby Oh So Fresh is one of them. He's actually the person who inspired me to even want to DJ. And I've told him this a number of times. That brother knows his worth. I don't know how much he getting paid on a per gig basis, but it ain't what he fucking deserves.
Yeah.
But I feel like he knows who he is. He knows his vibe. He knows his worth. And he is uncompromising with that shit. And I fuck with that to the moon.
Yeah.
Because when you know who you are, when you know what you bring into the table, then that means you're getting the world to conform to you. And I like that. When you got your own motherfucking gravitational pull, I rock with that. But that's a part of knowing who you are. And I had to say that, bro, because some of the greats in our area who've been doing this shit forever, ever, don't get the shine and the acknowledgement that I feel that they truly deserve. Within the DJ space, people know. But every opportunity I get, man, I try.
And it's deep because, a couple things. It's deep because this area, I think people sleep on the fact that this area was a mecca, is a mecca for DJs. And there have been motherfucking amazing cats, like global cats that came from this area that influenced other cats who were amazing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and I think we sleep on that because of the noise. And it's so much noise and there's so much other shit going on. We sleep on the fact that there's dudes floating around here, man, who are, you can go to any DJ in any part of this country and they know this cat. Like they'll be like, yeah, that's a bad motherfucker. Or yeah, that's my man. Or you say you from DC, you know DJ so-and-so? Yeah, that's my man, he a bad, you know what I'm saying? I think we sleep on that fact and we don't, I think for those kind of dudes, man, or people, I think the key has always been, and a dude told me this a long time ago, man, you gotta make your own lane. If you wanna be a dude that's eclectic and sort of lives on the fringes of the fuck, you have to create your own because there's less and less spaces because these spaces, they are making money. They're there, they exist to make money. Long gone are these clubs that are there to be a club.
Avant-garde
right,
shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want to be a cultural, like a nightclub culturally in the city. They don't give a fuck about money and all the rest of that shit. They want to just have parties. That shit is gone. Now, 99.5% of these venues are there to make money. And if you don't fit that model, they're not fucking with you. unless you can have your own shit, own self-contained party, and you can bring it, and then and then you have your people that come out and fuck with you and have your way. And there's people who do that too.
Yeah.
But I think that is, in terms of what we see as these sort of people like we're talking about, that is really the way to be able to show your value and know your value in a way that you can do whatever you want to do and have it be something that's that you can monetize in a way that works for you. You know what I'm saying? But you're right, dog. And that goes for any creatives, though.
Yeah.
That goes for, dudes are having their own art shows. They're not leaning on these galleries on F Street no more. You know what I'm saying? They're not leaning on these spaces to do for them. They're doing their own shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Music, we all know music has changed. It might have started with music. Motherfuckers is creating their own styles in their fucking bedrooms.
So if we're saying, are we, let me rephrase that. I think a part of knowing your worth is understanding what your relationship is to the thing.
Yep.
And doing and what your investment is to it.
Yep.
And be uncompromising about that.
Yeah. And also what your relationship is to the greater thing, to know that you're not doing that, that I'm going to do this, and I need to find.
And maybe the greater thing and your thing, like that's all the same.
Right.
Like it's like if you exist to make art, then you gonna make art.
Right.
Like, do you want to have a show one day? Do you, if somebody come along and say you got to do some wild shit to get a venue, like know what your costs are.
Yep, that's it.
Know your price, because that price is going to be related to your value.
And again, dog, this is what we talked about last night too. We want to make sure we add that I thought was important. A lot of times artists, no matter what the sort of medium, they don't think along those lines. They want to create art. That's what they want to do. If you got a motherfucker around you who's good at that other shit, tap into him. If that's your man, tap into him. Hey man, help me out with this. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure this shit out how to go. And you guys can get that synergy together, man, and make something happen. Because a lot of dudes, like I said, out here doing it for other people, for companies or for their day jobs. But their mans, who's an artist, who's a damn good artist, they need your assistance too. So link with them, man, and within your tribe, y'all can figure that out.
Yeah. And maybe you can help, maybe it'll help you define that shit.
Right.
But, yeah.
Right.
How you feel about the conversation?
Good, man. Shit, that's it's solid. It's solid. And it makes me and the good thing about these conversations that we have, man, always makes me want to go out and do something different. So doing this, I can start to go out and approach things a little bit differently, man, in terms of the creatives that are around me, and like you said, not just invest in buying this, or also just invest in that time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, man, like even with like Nate shit, when I get up and I flick that shit on, a lot of times I'm in it for 10 minutes and then something come up and I gotta go do something else. But when I can sit in that shit and just be in that shit and just vibe, man, that shit makes me feel better.
Yeah. And we're and all the people.
Shout out to Nate, man.
Nate Jeezy. Our circle is a beautiful group of people, man. Like, we got beautiful men, we got beautiful women, we got, just beautiful people, man, just creating things and healing people in the process. And I just hope, everybody got their own story, everybody got their own struggle.
Yep.
I just hope that they're able to tap into some of that healing power that they're creating for other people to help them heal themselves. And I think they are, man, because like you can't do what Nate does. I find it hard to believe that you could do what Nate does on Sunday and he not get some type of satisfaction and gratification from that, bro. Because it's a I love it because it is so authentic and so real, man. And it makes me, being a motherfucker who was raised in church and loved Bible study and Sunday school and sang in the choir and all of that, man. It reminds me of my dad. Me and my dad used to sing in the choir together. Shout out to Pop. And I can't even, out of all the shit that I fuck around with and that these people create, man, it's something about what Nate does on Sundays, man, that is extremely healing for me. And just triggers so many positive memories, dude. So many. And I appreciate him for that. Yeah,
that's dope. He got a dope. And I'm glad that he sticks with it too, man. I'm glad to see it's there every Sunday. That's dope. That's dope. And it's hard to do, dog. It's hard to do in times like this and spaces like this. You know what I'm saying? That shit is staying consistent. You know what I'm saying? We got a few like that. Ebony does her thing. Man.
Oh, consistently.
Yeah, staying consistent is hard as shit. It's hard. That's got to be the hardest thing to do.
I was talking to my cousin.
That's the key to success.
Dude, we get mad at weak shit existing.
Yeah.
But it's consistent.
Exactly.
Dude, a drip of water can put a hole in a rock.
Exactly. Yep.
You just got to keep doing it.
That's it.
And that is.
That's it.
This thing here, I was having a conversation with somebody. Dude, this podcast, I feel, is just a small piece of a much bigger thing that is going to occur.
Right.
And a lot of the skills, a lot of the discipline that we are demonstrating to keep this thing going and working to get it to a point to where it is are skills that we are going to use to just do some amazing shit. But it's gotta start with this. It's almost like it's to burn off the fat type of shit to anti-slight initiative. Because we got some shit to do. Right? And we know what we working on and we know what we working through and what we trying to, craft and move out of the way and make way for and shit. And we're doing that through this. So much love, man, to us.
Yes, sir.
For keeping that shit going.
Yeah, thank me.
Who?
I'm great.
You mean you?
I'm thanking me. I like to thank me.
I like to thank myself.
Snoop Dogg said that shit. I like to thank me for never giving up.
For never giving up on me.
That's my man.
God, I like to thank myself for not killing myself. For not doing no super dumb shit.
Right, super dumb. I've done dumb shit, but not no super dumb shit.
So, man, I've been listening to, this morning, bro, I was listening to the Whispers.
I heard that shit when I was, man, that shit's nuts.
Bro. When it comes to you, time is no better spent.
I think the Whispers is probably one of the slept on, like, top. I mean, the Whispers, man, were amazing.
I went to go see them at the Birchmere, bro, several times. I love them.
With both Scotty and Walter? Was it before? Which one died, Walter?
The tall dude with the gray hair.
Nah, one of the twins died.
Recently? No.
Yeah.
Oh my God. See, I meant to have that iPad here.
Yeah, I think
I thought the dude who wrote most of their songs is the tall.
Yeah, I think he did too. This died a while ago, right?
Dude, He had to die before one of the twins. I didn't know one of the twins
I
died.
want to say, dog, one of the twins. And
Shit,
if he didn't, man, I'm wrong as shit for even.
Matter of
putting that in
fact,
the ether.
I feel like we need to.
I don't know, but you know, I came on some Roberta Flack, man.
What you hit?
That motherfucking Sister Jones, man. You ever heard that record, Sister Jones?
Mm-mm.
When she talking about like a Reverend Jones, he died.
Yeah, it's called Reverend something. I think. I don't think it's called Sister.
It's not called Reverend Jones.
I think it's called Reverend.
Okay.
Reverend something. I think that's the name
No,
of it.
it's two songs. So she got another song called Reverend something that's talking about a reverend and his temptation.
And she got a song called Sister Jones.
It's a song called Sister Jones talking about Reverend, his wife, talking about her husband dying.
I gotta look that up.
That motherfucker is crazy.
Dude, I used to date, so I was 18 and I was dating this 32-year-old babe.
That's abuse.
It's beautiful abuse. So
beautiful abuse.
She got I got put on the Roberta Flack from her. Her sister bought her a Roberta Flack album when she was a little girl.
Yeah.
And she didn't remember the song. She didn't remember the album.
Yeah.
I went out and bought every Roberta Flack CD I could find.
You're wild, man.
And gave them to her as a gift.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know you were looking for the Roberta Flack, and you couldn't remember which one it is.
Yeah.
So I went and bought all the motherfuckers
Yeah.
for her to pick out which one that her sister actually got for her.
Yeah.
And that's how I got hip to Roberta Flack. And because she started playing the CDs, and I was like, oh, her voice.
Dog, Roberta Flack.
And I fell in love. I fell in love, bro.
Roberta Flack is one of the tops, man. She slept on too.
Slept on.
She slept on too, man.
When
Shout out to Howard University.
Huh?
She went to Howard.
Yeah, that's where her and Donnie met, I think.
Yep.
What is that song that she talks? My favorite song is "Man, I Can Understand How It Might Be Kind of Hard for you to love." Hold on, Jay-Z sampled it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But you know who did that first?
Who?
Nina Simone.
No.
Yes. Listen to the Nina Simone version.
Hold on, she did it first?
Yes.
Hold on.
She did that in the 70s. Early 70s. Might even be late 60s.
She wrote that?
Yes.
Now I gotta get the fuck up.
Dog. And I keep telling you, world, universe, please understand when I say Nina Simone is the catalyst for everything that came after her. Please understand that. I keep telling them over and over and over again, I'm looking directly at y'all, who Nina Simone was and who and what she was, and he keeps sleeping on it. You know what I'm saying? Talk about grapevines.
No.
Thinking grapevines was better.
Listen, man, I ain't gonna argue with you.
Nina Simone did that first.
Hold on, Robert, what's the name of the song? Come on, back. See me when you can.
Yeah.
Now I know how it might be kind of hard for you to love a girl.
Rihanna sang that.
I was getting a divorce. I walked, bro, from fucking Herndon Clock Tower, from the clock tower in Herndon to DC, listening to that song over and over and over. Down 267, down 66.
Nigga, that's about 5 hours of walking.
It was all day. We had just signed the paperwork, and I was reading. Oh man, I gotta find the joint.
Come on back.
What's the name of the song?
Come on back and see me.
Come on back and see me when you can.
Yeah. That is
Now I know Do what you got to do. I think it's the name of the song.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. You're right. Somebody out there knew.
Okay, now do what you got to do.
Dog, Nina did that first, and again, and Roberta reminds me of Nina.
So it was written by Jimmy Webb.
And he...
They say you love to fuss and fight and bring a good man down and don't know how to treat him when he takes you on the town. They say you ain't behind him and just don't understand and think that you're a woman, but you're acting like a man. Hey, Lordy mama, hey, baby, tell me what you gonna do. Get your nerves together, baby, and set the record straight. Let the whole round world know it wasn't you that caused this bitter fate. All these years you loved him, and you knows it's true. It's what you want for your baby. It's what he's wanting to. Hey, gal, oh Lord, tell me what you gonna do. Tell me what you Put your nerves together. Don't you disagree? 'Cause ain't nobody perfect. 'Cause ain't nobody free. Hey, Lordy mama, tell me what you gonna do. Tell me what you do. All right.
His mind is blown. Everybody out there? Dog.
Man, I can understand how it might be kind of hard
Dog.
to love a girl like me.
This is whack.